وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum. There we go, now everyone can hear me. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We're going to begin with our English program on night 7. So we're going to begin with some Quran recitation. Let's have a warm welcome for Samat al-Sheikh, Dr. Ibrahim Yasin. Let's have a loud salawat ala Muhammad and ali Muhammad.
Thank you. He said Dr. Ibrahim. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فكلي واشربي وقري عينا فإما ترين من البشر أحدا فقولي إني نذرت للرحمن صوما فلن أكلم اليوم إنسيا. فأتت به قومها تحمله قالوا يا مريم لقد جئت شيئا فريا. يا أخت هارون ما كان أبوك امرأ سوء وما كانت أمك بغيا. فأشارت إليه قالوا كيف نكلم من كان في المهد صبيا. قال إني عبد الله آتاني الكتاب وجعلني نبيا وجعلني مباركا أينما كنت وأوصاني بالصلاة والزكاة ما دمت حيا وبرا بوالدتي ولم يجعلني جبارا شقيا. والسلام علي يوم ولدت ويوم أموت ويوم أبعث حيا. ذلك عيسى ابن مريم قول الحق الذي فيه يمترون. ما كان لله أن يتخذ من ولد سبحانه إذا قضى أمرا فإنما يقول له كن فيكون. وإن الله ربي وربكم فاعبدوه هذا صراط مستقيم. فاختلف الأحزاب من بينهم فويل للذين كفروا من مشهد يوم عظيم. أسمع بهم وأبصر يوم يأتوننا لكن الظالمون اليوم في ضلال مبين. وأنذرهم يوم الحسرة إذ قضي الأمر وهم في غفلة وهم لا يؤمنون. إنا نحن نرث الأرض ومن عليها وإلينا يرجعون. واذكر في الكتاب إبراهيم إنه كان صديقا نبيا إذ قال لأبيه يا أبت لما تعبد ما لا يسمع ولا يبصر ولا يغني عنك شيئا. يا أبت إني قد جاءني من العلم ما لم يأتك فاتبعني أهدك صراطا سويا. يا أبت لا تعبد الشيطان إن الشيطان كان للرحمن عصيا. يا أبت إني أخاف أن يمسك عذاب من الرحمن فتكون للشيطان وليا قال أراغب أنت عن آلهتي يا إبراهيم لئن لم تنتهي لأرجمنك واهجرني مليا قال سلام عليك سأستغفر لك ربي إنه كان بي حفيا صدق الله العلي العظيم. إلى أرواح أموات الحاضرين جميعا والشهداء ومن مات على الإيمان ولنصرة حماة الدين إن شاء الله بلغ اللهم ثواب الفاتحة وثواب الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Ahsant Molena. Let's have a salawat honor please. Ala Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. A couple quick announcements and points. Please double check your cell phones. Make sure they are silent or turned off so we don't have any interruptions for the program. We'd greatly appreciate that. And we are collaborating with the ASHURA project for a food drive. We have bins set up outside, so any donations would be greatly appreciated. And yesterday, and over the last several nights, I was talking about self-assessment and how one has to look at themselves and evaluate themselves on a continuous basis to improve and grow spiritually and intellectually as an individual, and how that has a lot of importance. One other aspect that follows from that that's critically important here is actually being able to, as a student, this applies a lot to the younger students or youngsters growing up, what we need to teach them is educate them on how to analyze things critically. Critical thinking is like critically important. So, you know, whenever you look at any situation, you have to be able to critically think it through and analyze it to get to the solution and the answer. So that now you wonder, what is critical thinking? Some people wonder, they're not sure exactly what it entails. Critical thinking basically is taking information objectively and you evaluate it and you come with an analysis. So when you have this objective information, you have to bear in mind that it's not based on any feelings or emotion. It has to be logic and reason to come to the conclusion and the decision. And that's how you work through problems. Because in today's society, you have these individuals out there. Let's say you're in college or university studying and you're taking a course and they're teaching about evolution and science and theory, and then these atheists comes up with these theories pertaining to God doesn't exist possibly. And they come up with these conundrums, you know, and these questions, and they try to trip you up basically and try to, they're fallacies in a sense. We call them the either or fallacies or theories. They'll come up with a theory and they'll present a problem to you. Basically, if we take this white napkin here as just a very basic example, and I come to you with my premise and I tell you that this is either red or it is black. So then you come to me with an answer. What is your answer? You know, if you answer one of those colors, then you are wrong. You're buying into the fallacy. So when somebody comes to you and they question, like, can God, let's say for example, make a rock or create a rock that he cannot himself lift, it's too heavy. See, this creates this fallacy. They create this premise, which is the initial basic argument, and then you have to draw the conclusion from there in this analysis. So the students need to really think about these things, to work through them critically, to get to the solutions and the answers. And that's vitally important because a lot of us, I feel like we're lacking in that department. We get tripped up when people try to come up with these conundrums and confuse you and trick you. When if you look at the Quran and Ahl al-Bayt, all the answers are right there for us. So inshallah, tomorrow evening I will elaborate a little bit on this and provide you with a few examples, and then the answers to them, how we answer these little pickles that people try to put us in. Something to think about, if anyone wants to look up the either or theory, these fallacies, to get a little bit more reference and knowledge to understand a little bit more what I am referring to, or if you've ever experienced this in a philosophy course at a university level, then you might have a little bit more information pertaining to that. But we want to get to our lecture right now. That's more important. So allow me to give a warm welcome, and I want everyone to give a loud salawat with me. Let's have a loud salawat for our Samahat al-Sheikh, Dr. Ibrahim Kazaruni. Ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, please. Loud salawat.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصين أماؤه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون، ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا سيد الأنام حبيبنا وحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطاهرين المعصومين. Praise is due to Allah, whose worth cannot be described and whose bounties cannot be counted, and no one can submit to Him the way He deserves. We convey our greeting and salutation to the Holy Prophet of Islam, the most noble Prophet and his pure progenies. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. قال الله العظيم في محكم كتابه أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن يعمل من الصالحات من ذكر وأنثى وهو مؤمن فأولئك يدخلون الجنة ولا يظلمون نقيرا. Whoever does good deeds and has faith shall enter paradise and shall not be wronged in the least. Before I continue, I would like to bring everyone's attention to yet another massacre in Yemen. A procession for ASHURA to remember the incident of Karbala was bombed by the Wahhabis. Over 800 people killed. Already we don't know the true numbers. So for those of you who thought that Yazid is dead and Bani Umayyah is over, we come to understand that the notion of كل أرض كربلاء وكل يوم عاشوراء is an apt description of the conflict between Haqq and Batil, and it's a perpetual one. It goes on. Where do we stand is the main question. And the tragedy is that no one says anything about it. The media in the West is absolutely silent or anything at all, because whatever happens, the oil from the Arabian Peninsula is needed in the United States, and they have been very generous in purchasing American weapons, so we don't say anything. This is a classic example of what we call utilitarian ethics and morality that we have been discussing for the past few nights. To recap on few issues that we covered last night, I began by reciting a hadith which is well known, that the Holy Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him and his pure progenies, uses a simile. He says, the simile of my Ahlul Bayt is to what we call the Noah's Ark. Whoever gets on board succeeds, and those who fall behind perish. And I posed the question that we normally receive, specifically to find out a logical explanation about the life of our imams vis-a-vis their stance against, say, Bani Umayyah or anybody else, or one of the tyrants. The question which is posed is as follows: do our imams collectively or individually have a singular goal, multiplicity of methodology and path, in which the force of circumstance imposes on them how and the method to choose? Or each one has a different goal and uses a different method? I brought to your attention an assessment or an articulation by Marhum Shahid Sadr regarding the issue, which he says the conclusion is that if we look at the way our imams behaved during their lives, it becomes clear that there was a singular defined goal, and that was to protect Islam. What happened in addition to that depended on the circumstance. And the force of circumstance, he develops 3 phases. He says in the first phase, that started with the demise of the Holy Prophet and ends with ASHURA, as a matter of fact, it was a combination of preservation of Islam and containment of what we call deviation from the right path. And during this phase, all our imams were responsible to protect Islam primarily and to prevent deviation as much as possible. And they were prepared to accept harms to themselves as long as the main goal could be protected and preserved, which was Islam. We see it in the khutbah and the sayings of Amir al-Mu'mineen, salawatullah salamu alayhi, in Imam Hassan, in Imam Hussein. These, they all say the same thing, that we will accept all the pains, read Shaykh Shaqiyya, all the pains as long as Islam is protected. I mean, you can't see a more eloquent way of putting this or expressing this than Amir al-Mu'mineen in Shaykh Shaqiyya. He says, I found myself in front of 2 realities. Should I rise and get what is mine, divinely dedicated to me? I am the best person that can take that responsibility, the leadership of the society, and risk the weakness and probably the destruction of Islam, or accept the pain and preserve Islam. And I accepted the second one, because that is the ultimate goal. Once it became clear that the society has become so corrupted by the love of material life, sanitized from every ounce of what we call morality and ethics, the second phase starts. How does it start? By Ahlul Bayt beginning to develop a new methodology that you cannot rely on a corrupted society. You have to create the nucleus that ultimately becomes dynamic, where the nucleus, these individuals will take the message of Ahlul Bayt around. And Marhum Shahid Sadr cites this hadith. He says that there is a hadith that says if Imam Hassan was in the time of Imam Hussein, he would have done exactly as Imam Hussein did. And if Imam Hussein was in the time of Imam Hassan, he would have done exactly as Imam Hassan did. This clearly indicates that the goal is one. What is different is the force of circumstance. Because people keep asking why Imam Hassan made peace, Imam Hussein rose and stood up against Yazid. What they don't understand, that Imams understand the force of circumstance and the response. They develop a response to it. The second phase, Imam Sajjad salawatullah salamu alayhi buys gradually 1,000 slaves, frees them, educate them, and then sends them around the Muslim ummah and Muslim geographical boundary to propagate the message of Ahlul Bayt. We see each Imam not only preserves Islam, protects the life of the believers during his time, lays the foundation for the next Imam to benefit from it. And every Imam that comes benefits from the previous foundation and lays the foundation for the next stage. If it wasn't for the work of Imam Zain al-Abidin, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir and Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq salawatullah salam alayhi would not have succeeded, barring away the political circumstance, the weakness of Bani Umayyah and the weakness of Bani al-Abbas. So they all lay the step, and each one benefits from the previous work. And ultimately a time comes through the third phase in which Ahlul Bayt now they can rely for that nucleus that exists to ask them to rise and challenge the established order politically, intellectually, etc., etc. We get to the stage in which Ma'mun, after Ma'mun, Bani al-Abbas, they become frightened of even allowing Imam to have access to his community. This is why they put them under house arrest in Samarra or Baghdad or anyone, or imprisonment. Ma'mun bringing Imam Rida from Medina to Khurasan wasn't out of love for Imam Rida, so that he can isolate Imam Rida from making contact with the cells that already established itself. These were some of the issues that I cited out. At the end, I went back to the notion of Safina, the hadith of Safina, and I pointed out, Man rakibaha, which means whoever got on board, means an active part from us in following Ahlul Bayt. It doesn't just say, wave the name of Imam Ali for grace and salvation and you're going to have it, and you will be among the followers. It's a praxis orientated, which means you have to act, you have to follow. What I want to follow tonight is this theme. Strangely enough, as we got closer to the month of Muharram, I began to receive questions by brothers and sisters, either email or in the mosque here, particularly after Friday prayer, would come forward and ask questions. Maulana, we have heard about the hadith regarding the crying for Imam Hussein. Is it true that if you cry for Imam Hussein, all your sins are forgiven? And they have learned by heart few of these ahadith. Man baka wa tabaka fa inna lahu al-jannah. Whoever cries or pretends to be crying, then heaven is secured. I began to think, what is so unique about this time that suddenly everybody's asking this question? What's going on? So every time somebody asked me, I looked at him or her to see whether he is the embodiment of what Imams stand for or stands far away from it. In most cases, there are those people asking questions that their daily life says nothing about following Ahlul Bayt. Then suddenly I realized that this is where this idea comes from. And as we got closer to the month of Muharram, there are some channels TV channels and others that began bombarding the Shia community, that get ready, the salvation is near, and you're going to cry, and what's the crying? You go, all the slate is wiped clean, you can start all over again. Where does this idea come from first? Those of you who are familiar with Christian tradition, this is a Christian, the idea is the Christian atonement theology. Around the 2nd century history of Christianity, when the idea of Trinity began to take shape, before the beginning of the 3rd century, where it was embedded in as a Christology within Christian history, one idea that was floating around to try to explain the death of Christ or crucifixion of Christ was this. The basic atonement theory posits that Jesus' death was necessary in some tangible cosmic way as a sacrifice for the sin of humanity. Jesus liberated humanity from sin and slavery to Shaitan by giving his own life as a sacrifice. This is the redemption in Christ theory that exists. What we have, remove the name of Christ and substitute the name of Hussein. And we have a new redemption theology for Shias that tells people you don't need to comply to the law, you don't need to submit to the life of Ahlul Bayt, you don't need to follow their commands, you can be as sinful as possible. As the month of Muharram comes, come shed few tears or tabaka, pretend to be crying, and you can walk out of here absolutely clean. Where is the logic? Where is the logic? The Quran commands and encourages everyone to think. أفلا تعقلون أفلا تعقلون أفلا تتفكرون. Before you ask the question, ask yourself, does it make sense? One of the verses that I read, وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِنَ الصَّالِحَاتِ مِنْ ذَكَرٍ وَأُنْثَى وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ فَأُولَٰئِكَ يَدْخُلُونَ الْجَنَّةَ وَلَا يُظْلَمُونَ نَقِيرًا. Whoever does good deed, so there is a combination of good deed and faith. Faith without good deed is worthless, becomes a philosophical concept. And then if these two, and whenever it's necessary, there is another verse that says, إِلَّا مَنْ تَابَ وَآمَنَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا فَأُولَٰئِكَ يُبَدِّلُ اللَّهُ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ حَسَنَاتٍ وَكَانَ اللَّهُ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا. So tawbah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that we are not infallible. We will commit sin. But as long as we repent and then combine faith and action together, we can be hopeful of redemption and purification. But the idea that you can come, simply be present. Sometimes go to Facebook and see some of these quasi speakers putting these ahadith on the Facebook, that the mere presence in these gatherings is enough. Not only such a view counters the number of verses in the Holy Quran, it also counters a number of ahadith that we have. There is a hadith from Imam Muhammad al-Baqir salawatullah salamu alayhi to Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, Ya Jabir, balligh shi'ati. Inform our followers. إنه لا قرابة بيننا وبين الله عز وجل. There is no close family relationship between us and Allah. ولا يتقرب إليه إلا بالطاعة. You cannot get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unless you submit and you work. Ya Jabir, من أطاع الله وأحبنا فهو ولينا ومن عصى الله لم ينفعه محبتنا. If you submit to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and then love us, Ahlul Bayt, then we can help. But if you do not submit to the command of Allah and you are sinful all the time, your lip service to the love of Ahlul Bayt is not going to produce anything. Similar hadith from other imams. أمير المؤمنين صلى الله عليه عليه أنا مع رسول الله ومعي عترتي على الحوض. In heaven, myself and the Holy Prophet and my family. فَمَنْ أَرَادَنَا, whoever wants to become, it doesn't say come and cry for a couple of minutes and you have got a one-way ticket to heaven. فَمَنْ أَرَادَنَا فَلْيَأْخُذْ بِقَوْلِنَا وَلْيَعْمَلْ بِعَمَلِنَا. Do you want clearer than this? If you want us, Ahlul Bayt, then you have to listen to what we say and act according to what we do. Then there is a chance. Or there is another hadith that says our true followers are the ones that listens to our command and then wrap themselves in the cloth of piety. Don't be deceived, brothers and sisters, by these hadith that some of them are fabricated, that tell you that you can simply be present in these meetings and just cry a little bit and that's it. Otherwise, the Christians would be in much better position than we are. They already atoned. They don't need to cry. They don't need to beat their chest. They don't need to split their skull into half. They don't need to do anything. They already atoned, if there was such a thing. Marhum Mutahari and a number of scholars consider this the biggest distortion of Ashura incident. Imam, after describing the sinfulness of the society, stands to challenge sinfulness, not to sell salvation and redemption for the price of being present, very cheap. He criticizes a corrupt society, the ones that are abidud dunya, the slave of the material life, because of their sinfulness, because of the absence of morality, because they have deviated from the right path. And what do? Some quasi scholars with the turban tell us, okay, come and sit down here and simply cry and that's it. What happened to the action part? And then people come, is it true, Maulana? We are looking for a shortcut. This is again classic example of hubb ad-dunya. We are not prepared to change our lifestyle. We're looking for a shortcut that will get us straight to heaven without commitment, without doing anything. I don't pray, I don't fast, but I come here and stay in Majaalis like this, and I expect straight away. أنا مع رسول الله ومعي عترتي على الحوض. We all together, whoever wants to come with us, they have to follow our command and practice what we say. This is the reality. Imam Hussein was martyred and killed because he stood up against, to challenge the sinfulness and the deviation and the corruption that exists in the society. It's the biggest distortion for us to use Imam Hussein as a ticket for accepting distortion and violation and sin within our society, as long as we become present in one of the Majaalis. Look at these ahadith. There is no such thing. Yes, crying, Ashura has a tragic component. We feel the pain of the loss. You cannot be a human being and a 6-month-old child on your hand and asking, unless you are a Wahhabi and Salafi like the ones that we've seen just today and yesterday, and the father comes out and says, "Oh people, this child is thirsty," and instead of giving him a little bit of water, you send an arrow. This shows the depth of depravity. And then what does the Imam says at the end? Ridan li ridak. Absolute submission to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's totally shameful for us, instead of submitting to the command of Allah and asking assistance from Ahlul Bayt and understanding, having a true understanding of what Ashura is, we come and say, okay, is it true that we want to just cry and that's it, we have secured way to heaven? Let me end again by the same hadith. بلغ شيعتنا عنا السلام. Give them, convey our greeting to those who follow us. من أطاع الله وأحبنا فهو لنا ولي. ومن عصى الله لم ينفعه حبنا. Whoever submits to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then and love us, then we can help. But if you don't submit, you become sinful and you expect miracle. This is the atonement theory, the Christian atonement theory within an Islamic or the Shia version of it. It is far from truth. Let's pray as I am getting close to my time. Brother Ahmad moved his position from one side to another, indicating that it's very close. Let's pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that and ask Allah to give us the right understanding of Ahlul Bayt and what they stood for, inshallah. Forgive our shortcomings, forgive the departed souls of our community and grant them peace, and specifically for the life and the souls of those who were massacred by the regime, by Saudi regime yesterday and today. The war, by the way, brothers and sisters, started in March 2015 and still going on nearly a year and a half after that, just over a year and a half. There is not a crime that these Saudis, Wahhabis have not committed in Yemen. But it is a tragedy, not only for this tragic event to take place, but for nothing, nobody that has a soul to stand up and criticize. And as soon as we criticize, you are treading into political area that we shouldn't speak about it. And please join me in reciting Surah Al-Fatiha for the souls of everyone that has departed within our community, but particularly bear in mind Marhum Allama Sheikh Muhammad Jawad Sharri. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Ahsant Maulana. Thank you for that beautiful lecture. Let's honor him by having a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, please. You know, Maulana, I was really looking forward to that shortcut. You know, I'm a little let down right now. I'll figure out another way. But on a more serious note, I just want to let everyone know we are live streaming this on Facebook. So when he's talking about those hadith that might be corrupt, so when you go on Facebook, don't look at those. Look for the live stream, let people know. It's archived on there. And on YouTube, icfa.com, we have it. You can play it back, watch it for anyone who can't make it. Also, you know, the Sunday breakfast is going on at the Jama here, 10 a.m. If anyone's interested in coming, there's a lecture, you know, and there's food. So if anyone wants to come, ahlo sahla, we'd love to see you all there. But who's ready for some poetry now? We're going to have some beautiful poetry coming up. So it's my honor to present to you Fatima Najdi. Let's have a loud salawat ala Muhammad and ala Muhammad for her, please.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dear brothers and sisters, respected scholars, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am Hussein. Visit my sadness and you shall hold my existence. I am open to your visit. My sadness has been very lonesome, for my soul is now frail and weak. I can't carry this sadness's weight. I need your being for warm comfort and strength to keep my sadness at level. In Karbala, I was your guardian. Won't you care for me today, years later? I am Hussein. Visit my sadness, and within it you'll find greatness. I have wounds to show my bravery. They were untended and so they grew, yet I saw that they brought you to me. So when you come to me, visit my sadness. You are visiting me, so take a moment, come to terms with what they did to me. But please don't forget my tragedy. This is your debt to me. So remember, I am Hussein. Visit my sadness, it'll leave your heart torn and grievous. Look around at my emotions. You'll see Karbala's memories. Not even a million canvases can mirror a glimpse of my heartbreak. Oh people, your tears mean more to me. Shed them with the weight of grief. When poets visit my sadness, even their imagination falls and breaks. I am Hussein, visit my sadness. You will faint from its rareness. Won't you come to me in my distress? Sleep within my sadness for warmth. During your visitation, sit with me. We'll sit under the moon, Abbas, and share our love. My brother's face will light our space, for in my sadnesses he sleeps. In its darkness he is the moon, and when the sun sets, who else rises? I am Hussein. Visit my sadness, maybe all of you can become Abbases. Let your heart sink in my depth. You may drown, so hold on to me dearly. I am with you, but you may not be with me. I am with you, but you may not be with me. In my lifetime, I was there for all. On the one day I made a call, none had come. In the shadows I wept. In the shadows I wept till Abbas lit them too. He took care of all. He even wept my tears for me. Visit me so we may complain to each other. I am Hussein. Visit my sadness. It needs to be brought to the masses. I am aware I am now beyond your help. Though by coming to my sadness, I'd have a friend to speak to and share my story. Zainab shared my day of tragedy to you, so I never had the chance to speak upon my sadness. My head was taken away from me before I could. My emotion imprisoned by my broken body. My emotion imprisoned by my broken body. Your visitation would unlock its door with content. I am Hussein, visit my sadness. Maybe you can share your happiness. Ya Madhloom, Ya Nur al-Hussein. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Inshallah, the second poem, again, inshallah, correlates with the majlis that we'll be hearing today by Brother Yunus Makki. If I can please ask for one loud, Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I'm a witness to my uncle's tragedy, O Hassan. I'm your body and devotion on his field of battle, O Hassan. Hussein told me your wishes, and I'm here for their commitment. By my standards on Karbala's field, I'm beyond judgment. I took your name, O Father, and raised it proudly. In my death there was pain, but I felt sweetness and saw only honey. I want to send you of my trials and victories, but Father, with what paper and with what pen? I see everything with Hussein's honor carved. O Hassan, of your company, Karbala has been starved. My eyes would have adored you. My horse even went looking. I fought for you, O Hassan, and to keep the sun from bleeding. Though my death meant nothing to them, and so they treaded anyways. They massacred all that they saw and set the tents ablaze. I want to deliver my pain and sorrow, but Father, with what paper and with what pen? Your letter to my uncle gave me breath on his land forever. I promise that while my death is painful, I see it as an honor. With my sword as defense and the other hand waving goodbye, how am I going to send you letters of my cries? How will I package my sorrow while defending my uncles? I only have 2 hands. If only I had this letter written by angels. I want to send you of my cries and thanks. But Father, with what paper and with what pen? Maybe Abbas and his hands will write it for me to take. They seem like an angel's wings that can't break, in hopes that before I die, I am able to present to you love. But if I am unable, at least my death will lead me to you above. Every cry was sustained by fierceness, for this is for you. Oh Hassan, hold me when I die, as if I'm a baby new. I want to converse before my death, but Father, with what paper and with what pen? Dying on the land while fighting tirelessly, I knew I was going to bleed completely, but I can't help my thoughts of Hussein breathless. My strength for him in Karbala is endless. I am trying to lengthen the distance between Hussein and his death. I am trying to lengthen the distance between Hussein and his death, but Father, during this, I've lost my own breath. Father, during this, I've lost my own breath. I want you so I can trust you in complaints, but Father, with what paper and with what pen? I see the heaviness of the horse's hooves. I pray to the Lord that I don't receive dreadful news, and so I'm in thanks when I die before everyone else, because, oh Hassan, I was surprised to see Abbas in heaven's house. Oh Hassan, I was surprised to see Abbas in heaven's house. I thought he was unshakable by even mountains, but I saw in Karbala even the strongest of us had no functions. Oh Hassan, I would ask where you were, but Father, with what paper and with what pen? With what paper and with what pen? Wassalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Ahsan, sister. Let's have a loud salawat ala Muhammad and Ali Muhammad to honor her, please. Next, we're going to begin with our Majlis. So please help me have a warm welcome. It's my honor to introduce Brother Yunus Maki. Let's have a loud salawat ala Muhammad and Ali Muhammad for him, please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي وابن مولاي يا أبا عبد الله الحسين يا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة غريب يا مظلوم شهيد كربلاء. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Imam Hussein, his companions and his family are now in Karbala. The 7th of Muharram has approached. Brothers and sisters, it is a very tragic day in the event of Karbala. On this day, water was stopped from reaching Hussein's camp. It was very hot in Karbala. As the days went by, the children became very thirsty. The cry of Al-Atash, Al-Atash, Al-Atash became more frequent. Tonight is the night of Qasim, the 13-year-old son of Imam Hassan and Farwa. Ashura, the 10th day, came to the land of Karbala. Ali Akbar gave the Fajr adhan. This would be his last. His voice echoed throughout the skies. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Everyone prayed the Fajr Salat. One by one, Hussein's companions went to the battlefield and gave their life for Islam. They all became martyrs. Aywa shuhada Karbala. By Dhuhr time, Imam Hussein was left with only his family. Aoun, Muhammad, Qasim, Ali Akbar, Ali Asghar and Abbas. The companions of Imam Hussein, whilst they were alive, did not let Imam Hussein's family go to the battlefield. Yet, brothers and sisters, Imam Hussein was left on the battlefield now with no companions. Aoun and Muhammad were keen to help their uncle save Islam. They went to the battlefield, yet brothers and sisters, they never returned. Qasim took permission from his mother Farwa to fight. Then he went to his uncle Hussein to ask for his permission to fight. How can Hussein give permission to his brother's son to die? How can he allow a young child to die? Imam Hussein told his beloved Qasim, Qasim, my dear, you are young. You are the only child of your mother. Qasim, you are my brother's son. I have promised my brother to look after you, my darling Qasim. You are the image of my brother. You remind me of Hassan. No, Qasim, no. No, Qasim, no. I cannot allow you to die. Qasim was very disappointed. He went to his mother for help. His mother reminded him of the band his father had tied to his arm before his martyrdom. Now was the time. Now was the time, after 10 years, to open the band. Inside the band, Al-Qasim alayhi salam. Al-Qasim alayhi salam found a letter for Hussein. Qasim was pleased to see the letter. He took the letter to his uncle Hussein. Hussein then took the letter. He cried. He placed it on his eyes and kissed it. Then he read the letter from his brother Imam al-Hassan. The letter read, Brother Hussein, a day will come when Islam will need to be saved by your sacrifice. Hussein, I will not be alive on that day. However, my son Qasim will be there. It is my wish that Qasim should represent me on that day. Imam Hussein, then with eyes full of tears, he hugged Qasim and he told him, my dearest Qasim, how can I stop you now? Go Qasim, go. في أمان الله يا ولدي. He took Qasim to Lady Zainab. Zainab, bring me Hassan's abaya and his turban. Hussein dressed Qasim with Hassan's cloak and his turban. Imam Hussein began to shed tears and look at Qasim. He would say, Zainab, look at Qasim. Doesn't he look handsome? He looks just like our brother Hassan. Tears flowed from Hussein and Zainab's eyes as they remembered their poisoned brother. Hussein then dressed Qasim with the battlefield uniform and gave him the weapons. Brothers and sisters, what is this tragedy? A young child with adult weapons. It is narrated that Qasim was so young that when he would hold his sword, it was so heavy it would drag on the floor behind him. He could not mount on his horse alone. Abbas, his uncle, helped him mount to the horse. Brothers and sisters, imagine you having to bid your son or nephew farewell to ride him on his journey to death. The young fighter Qasim rode to the battlefield, a rider whose feet did not reach the stirrups, the foot straps on the horse, but he was keen to save Islam. He was the young son of Hassan. He was the grandson of Ali, and he was trained by the lion Abbas. Qasim fought gallantly. He fought a battle history would never forget. The enemy could not overpower him. Brothers and sisters, yet this is the tragedy. It is narrated that the strap on Qasim's shoe became loose. Just like any child, my dear brothers and sisters. It is narrated that Qasim's strap became loose. He bent to tie it again. While bending, one of Yazid's soldiers hit him on the head. رحم الله من نادى وقاسماه وقاسماه. Qasim was covered in blood. The young Qasim, thirsty for 3 days, could not take it anymore. He fell from his horse. As he fell, he cried out, Ammah, Ammah ya Hussein, adrikni ya Ammah. Oh uncle, come quickly. Come help me, my uncle. Hussein and Abbas rushed to the battlefield. Dreadful events then took place. The enemies of Islam thought that Hussein and Abbas were coming to attack them. They got scared. There was confusion. Horses ran from one side to another, from here and there. The horses then ran over Qasim. Imagine a 13-year-old boy trampled by 40 horses. He got trampled on. Hussein and Abbas couldn't see Qasim anymore. Imam Hussein began screaming from atop his lungs, my darling Qasim, where are you? Qasim, speak to your uncle. Qasim, Qasim, where are you, my son? Qasim could not reply. Brothers and sisters, Qasim had stopped breathing. When the enemies withdrew, what did Hussein see? Qasim was not in one piece. Qasim was not in one piece. The horses had trodden him and torn him to pieces. Imagine Hussein's feelings. His brother Hassan's son lying trampled into pieces. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. What shall Hussein do now? What shall Hussein do now? Qasim torn to pieces, his arms and legs scattered on the sand of Karbala. Hussein took off his cloak and spread it on the ground. He ran from one corner to another, grabbing the pieces of Qasim's body. He then tied his cloak into a bundle. Abbas helped Hussein carry Qasim's trampled body. When Hussein reached the camp, he cried out, Zainab, help me my sister Zainab. الآن قد انقصر قلبي. My heart is broken, Zainab. I have no strength left to carry Qasim's body to the tent. Zainab, ask our Aunt Fidda to help you take Qasim's body to the tent. The ladies cried for Qasim. Together, brothers and sisters, wa Qasima, wa Qasima, wa Qasima. Imam Hussein began looking at Ali Akbar's body. He would cry, then he would look at Qasim's body and cry. None was left with Imam Hussein. Yeah, brothers and sisters, we are here to tell Imam Hussein that we swear if we were there on the 10th of Muharram, our bodies would too be laying beside Ali Akbar and Qasim. لبيك يا حسين, لبيك يا حسين, لبيك يا حسين. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أهل بيت محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. Please, my dear brothers and sisters, let us stand and let us give our salutations to Al-Qasim. يوم ذكريني من تمر زفت شباب من العرس محروم حنيتي دم التراب شمعة شبابي من يطفوها حنيتي دمي والجفن داب التراب. السلام عليك يا قاسم بن الحسن. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين وعلى 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين. Together to the Hussein of our time. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصل اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين أجمعين.
Ahsan, brother. Let's have a loud salawat ala Muhammad and ali Muhammad to honor him, please. This concludes tonight's English program. We're going to break for Salat right now, and then we're going to continue with the Arabic program at 8 p.m. Inshallah, we'll see you tomorrow. Wassalamu alaikum.